Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe. Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Grammarly Premium. Get a 1-month free trial of Grammarly Premium. Also, thank you to vidIQ for sponsoring today's show. If you want to get those views and those subscribers and get monetized on YouTube, sign up to vidIQ for your free trial. Thank you to Amazon Music Unlimited for sponsoring today's show. Today's show, I'm with an actor who played in the movie Convict. It's an Australian film. His name is Franc Violi. When I watched this film on Amazon Prime, I was just blown away. I was amazed at the acting in this. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome to the Stephen Shiels radio show. I've got Franc Violi from the movie Convict. How are you, Frank?
Good, Stephen. How are you?
Good, mate. I was very impressed with your acting on Convict and how you portrayed the character. How did you get approached to do that movie?
Well, I've lived in the Southwest for quite a while, and I was introduced. She went on to become my agent for a while. A lady called Sonia Maturana, and she actually introduced me to George directly while he was casting the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went out and met George. Him and David Field were going through the casting process.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed all gel and come together, and we hit it off. And it was quite an interesting experience. Quite a diversity in personalities and characters, and we were holed up at the old Parramatta jail for probably 5 weeks, I think, on and off while we completed the film.
Mm.
And it was quite an experience. I think it's 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah.
So so that's how I came across George, and I think that was George's second film. His first one, of course, was Combination, and not so long ago, probably 18 months, 2 years ago, he went on to do the second instalment of that movie.
Mm. No, fantastic. How many hours a day were you on set in Parramatta Jail for?
Well, it varied. It varied depending on what scenes were being shot, and it was a pretty cold place, mate, let me tell you. Someone was telling me a story that I think the RSPCA, once the prison had closed down, I think the RSPCA approached the authority, whoever the authority was that was managing the complex, to see if they could use it for animals, and they were told that it wasn't fit for animals.
Yep.
They were happy to have people there for a number of years.
Mm.
But we were probably there. The hours were long, depending on the scenes that were shot.
Mm.
You might have had a 4-hour call or a 10-hour call.
Wow. Because in my opinion, that's probably one of the best movies I've seen, much better than any Hollywood movie.
That's a big call.
Yeah.
That's a big call. Look, I think it's gritty. And the interesting thing being an independent film, sometimes independent films don't necessarily have the polish of the big Hollywood extravaganzas, and I mean, for the budget that George worked with, I think he did an admirable job. He certainly, yeah, I don't know what to respond to that. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
No, I did. It was one of those films where just want to know what's going to happen next. Just the story was excellent. Actually, the film scores were impressive too. It was original music.
Yeah. Not in conversation with you, you mentioned that you score as well, do you? Or
yeah.
You starting into that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a classical musician. I did a bachelor's degree in clarinet, and then I did orchestration. So I compose my music for orchestra, and I do electronic work.
Oh wow!
So it's film inspired.
Well, see, mate, that's the thing about this industry. You've got to diversify or you die. You see, you've got to put your hand in a number of different areas, and it's not such an industry in this country where there's a lot of work. It's always been a little bit slim pickings. So it's all about collaborations. It's all about collectives trying to make something creative come to life. So that's great. That's great, mate. You working on anything at the moment?
Yeah, I'm working on another album at the moment. I'm going to publish it this year. So I'll publish my first album in 2020 during the pandemic. And,
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear, mate. I've got to be careful here that I don't turn it around and start interviewing you, Stephen.
Nah, that'll be good. Because as an actor yourself, Frank, did you go to do you have a uni degree to be an actor, or did you go to an acting school?
Let me tell you my story, mate. I've been an actor for 38 years. Yep. And I started in South Australia, and how it worked out for me. I think I just left high school, and it had always been my dream to be an actor. And I think I may have been working at a service station. In those days, they had a driveway service. So here I am, probably a 15, 16-year-old kid doing driveway service. That's when they, wash your windscreens, check your oil, check the air in your tyres. And I came across, I met an ABC newsreader. From memory, I think his name was Bill Citrini, I think. He worked for the ABC in Adelaide, and I think his history or his background was radio in Tasmania, of all places. And we got chatting, and I think at that time they were doing, through the South Australian Film Corporation, they were doing a couple of films. Under Capricorn, I think, was one, and Robbery Under Arms was the other one. And I'm stretching here trying to remember a lot of the detail. I think they had Anthony Perkins visiting. Anthony Perkins from Psycho fame was visiting. He's one of the stars. Anyway, Bill somehow managed to get me some extra work. So I think I spent a week or two doing some extra work, and once I got on set, I just fell in love with it. And he introduced me to a theatre manager actor in South Australia called John Edmund. And John Edmund started, I think, what went on to become the State Theatre Company in South Australia, but he started Theatre 62, I think it was. Was the original company. But anyway, I think I had probably 3 or 4 acting lessons with John, and he was producing some theatrical productions. I got thrown into a couple of plays, and I think I just took to it like a duck to water. For some reason, it was always character acting with me. I always enjoyed playing characters older than myself or different nationalities. From there on, I went on to have private tuition with people from NIDA, an old actor called Alexander Hay. Ted Caddick was another. These are names that I'm just plucking now that I haven't thought about for a long time. But So I think those gentlemen also were from the Royal Academy. And then many years later, I travelled overseas and spent some time in Los Angeles and also in London. Mm-hmm. And so I had quite a diverse influence in my training, but as such, never a degree or an institutionalised piece of paper. So yeah, I'm one of these guys that's probably a different path.
No, that's good. Have you ever gone into Hollywood or gotten close to the Walk of Fame?
Yeah, mate, I lived in LA back in the 80s. I lived in Los Angeles for probably 3 years, flying in and out, and not having a green card always made it a bit tough to sort of get your break. Short of getting, I think back then a lot of people got married for the convenience to get a green card. I spent a lot of my time in that period learning the other side of film and TV from a production side of things with a partly Australian-owned company. A little bit of sound, lighting, a dolly grip. Worked on a film many years ago called Grandpa, of all things, and the star of that was I've got to try to think of the actor's name now. He was quite famous, this actor. He was in, it'll come back to me, Arthur Kennedy was the name of the actor. And Arthur was famous. One of the roles he played, he played the journalist in Lawrence of Arabia, which is quite an old film. So, yeah, mate, so there was a lot of different experience, and got to meet a lot of people. It was difficult to get a work permit. It's still difficult today. I think I didn't explore it, but I suppose these days, with the experience I've probably had, if I wanted to leave Australia or work more so overseas, I'd probably qualify for some type of allowance now, given that I've done appeared in some international films, albeit. So I think more recently I had a small role in a movie about Helen Reddy, and a movie called I Am Woman. And oddly enough, I knew worked with Helen back in the 80s in Los Angeles. So it was quite ironic that all these years later that I had a small part of the story of her life.
No, that's amazing, Frank.
Yeah.
You know, and
stories. You got me on the back foot because I'm going, wow, I haven't thought about all this stuff for so long, and there's a million stories, buddy. Let me tell you. So you're getting a little bit of a taste.
Have you worked with any famous actors in Hollywood, in LA?
No, not really. I came across, as I mentioned earlier, in the early days, there was Anthony Perkins. There was Arthur Kennedy. Another actor called played. Mate, you got me thinking now. Wilfred Brimley was another one. Oh, look, there's a number of them that I've come in and out of. Had an interaction with over the years, but I'd be stretching out even think. But yeah, there's been a few. Part of my career, I also worked on special effects for film and TV with a Kiwi that was based here in Australia called Graham Rendell, and we used to work on special effects for film and TV, doing some big music videos for people like In Excess and. So there's been a few brushes with some of the highlighters over the years.
Wow. Well, what are you doing for acting for 2021? Have you got any more movies coming out, or what's?
Mate, at the moment I'm probably what can I tell you? Last year was the Helen Reddy movie. This year. Through another friend, he's trying to get a pilot up and running for a TV show centred around chefs in a restaurant, and that's in development at the moment. And I play in the first episode a quirky market gardener, and I think he's got me playing some quirky characters throughout the season. So I certainly enjoy playing a variety of characters. looking for representation. That's the other thing. As an actor, you can go it alone, or you can try to get yourself an agent. I've had agents over the years. At the moment, I'm in between representation. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. 2021 will tell. There's a few little things in the fire, but nothing definite other than this pilot that I'm working with a gentleman called Greg Arthur. Greg Arthur's a professional singer-songwriter as well, a crooner, and he's producing and writing as well. So. So that's one project that's it's on the cards, so that's there's a big question mark. We'll see where 2021 takes us. I think, given COVID, I think things will start to get better now. I think it's been a hard year for a lot of people, and I think there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. There's a lot of new casting directors and people coming through the industry. The old guard seems to be sort of thinning out. TV sort of losing a lot of its punch, even though it has its shows. When you've got the streaming, the Netflixes, the Stan, the Prime, the Disney, when you've got a lot of different channels of distribution now and independent production, it's becoming a completely different industry. So what used to be work a certain way, I think, is being redefined, and I think that's going to have impact on performers, on what's available to them, how they get sourced, what's offered. It's a brave new world in many ways, I think, in my opinion anyway.
Well, Convict's on Amazon Prime. That's how I came across it.
Okay.
I know some of George's work's on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
But, it's all become a streaming world now.
It has at that. I have a grown-up job as well, so in between acting and I mentioned earlier, if you don't diversify, you die. I've probably been singing for about 20 years. I do a little bit of Nat King Cole, Sinatra, Martin, that type of stuff. I'm also an auctioneer, so I call that my grown-up job. So I work as a consultant in property. So, I probably get a handful of gigs a year, and you've got to be happy with that. There's a lot of people that don't get any work, so it's just not a lot of work out there. And you've got to... the thing I enjoy most is getting approached by young filmmakers, student filmmakers. I'm always happy to get involved and share my experience and help them go the next level and try to put productions together. That gives me that's quite satisfying for me at this stage.
Yeah, it's I like supporting smaller companies myself. It's just great to get experience behind you, especially when you haven't worked in the industry before, I think.
Yeah, it's hard because some people don't know where to start, or they're apprehensive, or they think, if I ask for help, people are going to think I'm stupid. Well, mate, it doesn't hurt to ask, and you never know. You don't know if you don't ask. The amount of talented people, whether they're musicians, actors, writers, producers, that do struggle, but that reside in the southwest region, the numbers are big. The numbers are big, and it's a shame there's not a larger collective or a pool to tap into to try to get some more productions up and running. You know.
Well, if you're working in Hollywood, I know they can be very pick and choosy when you get to that level.
Yeah.
Have you ever had disappointment in your acting career?
Is it Pope Calabrese Argentinian? Disappointment, mate, is part of the game. There's a lot of beautiful people in this game, and they're vulnerable, they're sensitive. All they want to do is tell stories and be part of that process. It can be depressing. It can be disappointing. It's not for the faint-hearted. And I go back to what I said earlier. You've got to diversify. You've got to find things to keep you occupied and busy, because you'll go mad. It's not an easy game. I've had more disappointments, and than satisfaction. Over 38 years, and sometimes I wake up and go, why the hell do you put yourself through this? Because I hunger for the next project too. There's things I want to get involved with, and I still want to be part of that storytelling process and character development. But it's not an easy game. It's not an easy game. So I try to encourage a lot of young people to self-generate, meet other writers, meet other directors, other producers, meet people, try to pull your resources together, make something happen, have a crack, have a go. Even if it fails, by definition, you've succeeded by having a go. And I can't be more philosophical than that, because it can be an industry that's full of disappointment, and it goes to mental health, And I don't think that's a discussion that's had often enough. So, mate, you ask a simple question, but you get a long answer, Have I had disappointment? I think I've answered that one, haven't I?
No, because
Go on.
you look at actors like Dwayne Johnson, your John Cena, Dave Bautista were wrestling before they got into Hollywood, but they seem to get it a bit more easy because they've got a following and they've got their fan base as well. Can Hollywood be like that too?
Oh, Hollywood will chew you up and spit you out. It's networking, it's politics, it's finance, it's so many things. It's so many things, and I think that it can be overwhelming. And that's where you've got to, young people coming into it, simplify it. Simplify it. Don't aim for stardom. Don't aim for Hollywood. Aim for, the core of who you are and what you want to express, and try to find some like-minded people that you can rely on and can rely on you, and start small. Start small and just see where it takes you. But try to keep a smile on your face and try to be proactive. If people want to get into this game for stardom, then they're delusional. Forget it. Don't even bother. It's not about that.
How do you prepare for an acting role and for an audition?
Well, obviously it starts with the word, starts with the script, and then depending on the synopsis, depending on when it's set, depending on whether you get some character traits within that description. It's funny. Once I've read something, one of two things will happen. Something external will happen or something internal will happen. And I don't know if I can explain that any better. But you'll read something and something will gel, or experience comes into play. And you'll be surprised what you channel. Something that might have happened to you 20 years ago may just resonate and be a building block. It's about, and every actor works differently. Every actor has their own process. For me, well, once I've read it, well, then it'll just something will click over. The creative juice will click over, and I'll start working on some blocks, and it'll evolve from there. Some seeds.
When you were doing Convict, there were some scenes that were quite not so nice to watch. How did you feel about doing that?
No, once again, the scenes that I was involved in, are you talking more about the scenes that probably George was involved in, or some of the other actors?
Yeah, George Basher with the prison guards, bashing him up, and they were corrupt as well.
Yeah, look, it's funny. There was one of the actors, Brian Ellison, who played Rico. He was the prison guard, the bearded prison guard. And another fascinating man. Here's a guy that is a professional stuntman most of his life. He goes back even before the original Mad Max with Grant Page, and quite a history in filmmaking. Brian Ellison. Brian had some previous acting roles, and this particular one, we spent some time discussing his role, and once again, he had to find his own way. I think, look, I think you've got to put it into perspective. The scenes I focused on the scenes and the message I was trying to get across. Initially, most people thought, probably looking at the movie, oh, well, this Williams guy, he looks like another bastard as well. But as the movie evolves, you find that I'm probably the moral compass of the movie. Everybody had their role and their journey to go through, and obviously I can't talk about how they felt, but some of the scenes would have been difficult. I know that there was a couple with Brian, but he worked through them as a professional, and I know George had to as well, and even one of the younger actors, Big Luke Hammer. Big Luke Allen that played Hammer. He was another interesting character. All very interesting heads, you see. That's what I like about independent film. They're more inclined to take... You were talking about the Dwayne Johnsons and all that sort of stuff before. Well, they're more... they're handsome, good-looking roosters that it's that whole Hollywood machine. Whereas what I like about independent filmmaking is... and grittier type filmmaking is they're more inclined to use... different types of performers, which I think is an appealing thing for a wider community. And once again, that's just my opinion. But there's some interesting heads in Convict, no doubt.
Yeah, no, it just felt so real to watch, Frank.
Yeah. It was maybe George should get writing the next one, the next Convict. Maybe there should be a sequel to Convict.
Yeah, no, and there was the scenes where you guys are all in the prison yard and there's all riots breaking out. How challenging was that to film?
Oh, look, I think it's when you've got that many people in a quadrant, it's always going to be challenging to get the timing right, to get the filming, the technical aspect of it right simultaneously with the performance. So look, how difficult? Well, everyone's professional. Obviously, you do a few takes and you focus and hopefully you get the job done. You deliver.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And did you have to do choreography for your part of the film?
Oh, a couple of the fight scenes. I think there's one scene where George is getting beaten up by the other screws, and I think I run in and that's right, he turns on them, and look, you've got to be. I think George doing his own stunts. I think while shooting Convict, I think he did hurt himself on occasion. So you've got to be careful with that stuff. You've got to approach it professionally with your safety officers and your insurances and all that sort of stuff. But for all well-meaning reasons, they would have choreographed a fair bit, and but that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get hurt. I think Tom Cruise broke his foot, didn't he? Shooting one of the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, could have, because he does his own stunts. Because most actors got their own stuntmen. Yeah,
they do. A lot of them do. And as you get older too, it it just depends on the stunts, and depends on probably the fitness of the individual as well. That comes into play.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing film, Frank. Yeah. It really was. It was at the start. It was one of the officers. You told him to get his foot off the table because you're part of the role. You weren't getting told what was going on with the warden as well.
Yeah, it was interesting. That was a very interesting scene, that one.
Yeah.
The great thing about some of the scenes was that George and David Field would give me room to breathe. They'd allow me an opportunity to develop the character and try different things. So that's probably one of my favourite scenes. Going in the tea room there and giving them both a dressing down, and their reactions are great because they didn't know what I was going to do. So whether it was putting the truncheon on the table or slapping a toothpick out of his mouth or whatever it was a bit of impro and some good natural reaction. And it was a strong scene. Interesting you'd point that one out. But that was, and sometimes if your shooting schedule allows, you'll get a director that'll give you a little bit of space to try to bring something to the equation. If they're running behind, well, then you've got to be pretty direct. But I do enjoy that. I mean, I like to prepare, but I also like a little bit of freedom if it's on offer to be able to explore and try to make a scene work. And most good directors will let you do that.
No, it was fantastic from your work that you did in that film. You know, it was really good stuff. Really good.
Well, hopefully there'll be some more opportunities. As an older actor, there'll be some more opportunities to do some stuff as well. You just you're only as good as your last gig, mate. So I enjoyed it. I made some really good friends on that movie as well. And the interesting thing was the cultural mix on set, whether it was Lebanese, Aboriginal, Italian, Australian, it was really interesting to watch the dynamic. Everybody, the creative process, if anything, really brings people together. There was such a camaraderie on that film. And as I said, I made some really some good friendships and some long friendships because primarily people love being part of the process. They wanted to be, whether they're actors or telling a story, but they want to be part of a creative process. And that can be quite a calming and neutral and unifying experience.
Because your character in the movie, you were like a come-and-go bloke. Like, you were like coming at certain times to find out what was going on. It was more, I think it was more focused between George, the corrupt warder, and the prison guards, and I think the community of Aboriginal Lebanese people.
That's right. And I was the head screw. And that's, you're talking about that earlier scene. So there were the politics in there. They were keeping me out of the loop. So in a sense, I was uncovering that corruption or that politics. And it's an interesting observation.
Now, that was a part of the story, I'd assume.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Yeah. Frank, fantastic show with you today. Where can people find you on your social media?
Oh, mate, isn't it funny? I'm a bit of they can always just Google me. There's always a lot of stuff and things that I'm up to. And I think I've got a Facebook, I've got a personal Facebook page, but I think there's a professional one as well. So they can always tap into that one. And, so that's probably, as I said, I work out of Western Sydney, out of Liverpool. I work for Century 21 down at Liverpool, so I'm there a few days a week, keeping busy. So people can hunt me down. They'll always hunt me down with a Google search. But social media, I'm still getting my head around Instagram and all those sorts of things, mate. I know it's simple, but I think it's a generational thing, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to today's show with Franc Violi. Thank you to the sponsors Grammarly Premium, Amazon Music Unlimited, and vidIQ. Click on the links in the description to find out more. Also, subscribe to the podcast, turn on those notifications as well. You can listen to my recent single on Spotify called Apocalypse. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Also, leave a rating or wherever you get your podcast. Cheers, everyone. Bye for now.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
The sweet aromas of the apple fritter, cinnamon roll, and blueberry muffin are hard to resist. So making it the rest of the way home without reaching in your McDonald's bag is no easy task. But nothing worth doing is easy.
Wake up and pair any one of these sweet, fluffy, frittery bakery treats with a McCafe iced coffee. Get any size and any flavor for just 99 cents until 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.